For years, fans assumed Doc Shaw had quietly stepped away from the spotlight, another child star who simply faded into obscurity. But now, at 33, he's finally breaking his silence, and what he's revealing about Tyler Perry and House of Payne is sending shockwaves through the industry, from emotional setbacks to hidden power plays behind the scenes. The truth Doc kept bottled up for over a decade has finally surfaced, and you won't believe the names he's calling out directly. What really went on behind the scenes of one of Black America's most iconic sitcoms? Why did Laramie Doc Shaw, a young actor full of promise, suddenly vanish from Hollywood's radar? And what exactly was Tyler Perry's real role in that journey? Was it a rise followed by a sudden fall? In today's episode, we're diving into revelations that have been years in the making. At just 33, Doc Shaw is opening up about painful truths, missed chances, and the silent battles he endured while filming House of Payne under the massive Tyler Perry Studios brand. And let's be clear, this isn't the polished, PR-friendly version. You're about to hear Doc share the raw reality, the pressure he felt to stay quiet and keep smiling, why he gained a significant amount of weight during production, and how the show responded. He opens up about his complicated dynamic with Tyler Perry and the turning point that led him to step away from it all. We'll also break down the fan reaction, the online theories, and the tough questions his confession is now forcing the industry to confront, especially when it comes to how young Black actors are treated in Hollywood.
So don't go anywhere, because what Doc has revealed doesn't just speak to his experience. It shines a light on a much bigger system. But first, let's rewind the clock to where it all started. Long before he ever stepped onto Tyler Perry's soundstage, Laramie Doc Shaw was already a rising talent full of ambition and undeniable potential. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, Doc grew up in the heart of the South, a region deeply rooted in culture, creativity, and community. His natural charm and charisma landed him modeling gigs before most kids had even learned to ride a bike. But it wasn't until 2006, when he was just 14 years old, that Doc truly became a household name, cast as Malik Payne on Tyler Perry's House of Payne. Let's not downplay it, this wasn't just another sitcom. House of Payne became a cultural staple in Black households across the nation. It blended outrageous comedy with raw real-life issues: addiction, infidelity, generational trauma, and right in the middle was Doc Shaw, the quick-witted, lovable grandson who stole every scene he appeared in. Week after week, millions tuned. And Doc wasn't just another teen actor, he became a symbol. A positive, grounded portrayal of Black youth navigating a messy world with humor, intelligence, and heart. And for a while, it all looked picture perfect. But then, something changed. Around season 6, fans began to notice a shift. Malik looked different. His screen time was shrinking. Whispers started. Was Doc struggling with his health? Had he been quietly written out? By the time House of Payne wrapped its original run in 2012, Doc Shaw had all but disappeared. No emotional goodbye episode, no follow-up TV deals, no major appearances, just silence. And for over a decade, it was that silence that kept the mystery alive. People began to wonder, did he have a falling out with Tyler Perry? Was there something happening behind the scenes? Did Hollywood do what it does to so many, chew him up and spit him out? For years, Doc never responded. Until now. In a raw and unfiltered podcast interview, Doc has finally broken his silence. And what he revealed wasn't just about his personal battles. It was about the entire system behind the spotlight. A system that left him feeling overlooked, silenced, and exploited. And just when it feels like you've heard everything, Doc drops a shocking revelation, something that happened on set which ultimately made him walk away for good. But before we get to that, let's take a look at how the crushing pressure of fame and body image nearly destroyed him, and why no one within the industry ever stepped in to help. When Doc Shaw first stepped onto the House of Payne set, he was only 14, a young teenager still figuring out who he was. But within a few short years, he wasn't just Malik Payne, he became everyone's Malik. With that kind of fame, though, came an invisible weight, the burden of always being on, even when the cameras were off. As the seasons went by, viewers started noticing a shift in Doc's appearance. He had begun gaining a noticeable amount of weight. The slim, energetic teen fans first fell in love with slowly began to change, and unfortunately, so did the comments. Social media lit up with harsh criticism and cruel jokes, most forgetting that behind the character was a real person. But The truth, as Doc finally shared in a deeply emotional podcast, was this: I was eating to cope with depression, he admitted. I was gaining weight because I didn't know how to handle the pressure, the anxiety, and the isolation that came with being in the spotlight. By the time he reached his late teens, Doc was facing emotional exhaustion. He felt stuck in a system that praised his performance on camera but completely ignored his well-being off-screen. According to Doc, there were no mental health resources. No check-ins, no support offered for the emotional health of the young cast. I'd finish filming a scene, go back to my trailer, and just sit there, he said. No one ever asked if I was okay. But what hurt the most? Even as his physical changes became obvious, nobody from production took the time to have a serious conversation about his health. There were whispers, Doc said, side eyes, a few. Quiet jokes about how Malik looked different that season. But no real concern, and it wasn't just emotional weight, it was physical too. Doc explained how the intense pressure, irregular filming hours, and constant demand to be the charming, funny Malik pushed him into a cycle of emotional eating. That weight gain, magnified by public opinion, led him deeper into isolation. The fans who once uplifted him turned their backs. Headlines began labeling him as troubled. Casting calls grew fewer and farther between. And just like that, as we've seen so many times before Hollywood moved on, you're everybody's favorite, until you're no longer profitable. But here's the unexpected turn. Instead of completely spiraling, Doc Shaw made a choice that would alter the course of his life. His disappearance was intentional. It was about healing, rebuilding, and regaining control. During his time away from the spotlight, he quietly started working with a personal therapist and a holistic health coach. Over the course of a year, Doc shed more than 60 pounds, adopted mindful practices, and transformed his relationship with food completely. But even more powerful than his physical transformation was the emotional clarity he came away with. For the first time in what felt like years, Doc began seeing his life beyond the identity of Malik Payne or the shadow of Tyler Perry Studios. It wasn't just about healing his body, he was reclaiming his sense of self. And with that renewed strength came a bold decision to finally speak out, not only for himself but for every young black actor who's ever been used for ratings, then tossed aside once they no longer fit the industry's mold. And this is where things take a more intense turn. In that interview, Doc spoke directly about what it was like working under the massive Tyler Perry empire, and why he felt left behind at the exact moment he needed support most. Let's be real. When people hear the name Tyler Perry, what comes to mind is power, wealth, and influence. Tyler Perry Studios stands as one of the most successful Black-owned production houses in the world, and for actors like Doc Shaw, landing a role from Perry wasn't just another job. It was a dream come true. In his recent interview, Doc made sure to express that he held deep respect for Tyler Perry for giving him a platform that truly changed the course of his life. He didn't sugarcoat a thing. He called Tyler a trailblazer and admitted that, without House of Payne, his career might never have launched in the first place. But here's where things start to get complicated. According to Doc, that respect gradually turned into confusion and eventually into disappointment. There's a big difference, he said, between giving someone a platform and actually supporting them once they're on it. Doc explained that once House of Payne began picking up momentum, the energy behind the scenes began to change. The production became more demanding, scripts felt rushed, and the pressure to pump out content that was quicker and funnier only intensified. Behind closed doors, Doc started feeling like just another gear in a machine, one that didn't stop to consider burnout, depression, or personal struggles. He shared that he tried to initiate conversations with producers about taking a breather, focusing on mental health, or even just stepping back temporarily to reset. But those discussions never made it to Tyler's attention, or worse, they were dismissed entirely. I don't think he ever hated me, Doc clarified, but I do believe I became invisible the moment I wasn't making people laugh. One particularly unsettling moment came during the House of Payne revival. Fans were shocked to see Malik return, but this time the character had changed drastically. He was more exaggerated, more over the top, almost made into a caricature. And Doc wasn't okay with that. He said the writers took the smartest character on the show, the one who aspired to be a doctor, a leader, and turned him into the punchline. I didn't recognize Malik anymore, Doc said. And honestly, I didn't recognize myself either. That creative shift was the final straw. Doc revealed that he tried to voice his discomfort about the new direction Malik's character had taken. He even went as far as writing a letter expressing exactly how the portrayal made him feel stereotyped and stripped of his dignity. But according to Doc, that letter was completely ignored. Not long after, he began pulling back quietly, stepping away from interviews, turning down promo invites, and eventually disappearing from the cast entirely. What made it worse? In all the time that followed, Doc says he never heard directly from Tyler Perry. No phone call, no message. No one reaching out to ask if he was okay or what had happened. And for someone who had grown up on Tyler's sets, who had once seen him as a mentor, that silence hit harder than any rejection. That's when I knew, Doc said. I was never seen as a person. I was seen as an asset. And once that asset stopped producing value, I was no longer necessary. Still, Doc made it clear, this isn't about holding on to bitterness or seeking revenge, it's about accountability. It's about making sure that the young actors coming up after him don't suffer the same emotional invisibility he once did. These days, he urges young performers to speak their truth, to ask for support, and to never feel ashamed for stepping away from a system that no longer serves their well-being. But what happened after Doc stepped away from the industry turned out to be even more unexpected. He didn't just walk away from acting, he walked toward purpose. When most young actors vanish from Hollywood's radar, the assumption is always the same: they couldn't handle the spotlight or they lost their way. But in Doc Shaw's case, his disappearance wasn't an ending. It marked the start of an entirely new chapter, one grounded in healing, education, and legacy. After parting ways with House of Payne, Doc stepped back from the limelight not out of defeat, but with intention. He did something that very few in his shoes have the courage to do. He prioritized his mental and physical health. And at just 24 years old, Doc made a move that stunned even his most loyal fans. He enrolled in college, while others in his position were chasing new auditions and red carpet invitations. Doc was chasing peace of mind, knowledge, and inner strength. He began studying business and media strategy, later explaining in an interview, "I didn't want to be someone's employee forever." He wanted to learn the game from the inside out, to understand how to control his own narrative, create his own space, and build content that actually matters. And here's the part that truly stands out: Doc didn't just vanish into student life. He used that time to launch a new media platform focused on telling honest, underrepresented Black stories. No more laugh tracks, no more watered-down characters. Just raw storytelling and real truth. On top of that, he's been quietly working with nonprofit organizations focused on mental health for young men of color, especially those working in entertainment. Doc says he feels a responsibility to help others who are navigating fame without a guide and without any emotional safety net. "If someone had sat me down at 16 and told me it was okay to take a break," Doc said, "maybe I wouldn't have suffered for so long in silence." Now, he gives talks at schools and creative incubators, teaching young artists how to protect their mental health while pursuing their dreams. And here's the exciting part: Doc is making a return to the screen. This time, he's doing it on his terms. He's currently developing a limited docuseries where he'll sit down with other former child stars to talk about the truth behind the spotlight. What really happens when the fame fades? Think of it as part therapy, part storytelling, raw, open, and absolutely essential. But perhaps the most unexpected aspect of Doc's new journey? He's opened up about his faith in a way that's deeply personal. Despite everything, the pain, the setbacks, and the disappointment, Doc says he's found peace. Not through organized religion, but through a personal relationship with God. "Fame didn't heal me," he said. "Therapy helped, community helped. But what truly saved me was trusting that I'm more than just the role I played on TV." He isn't out for revenge. He's not bitter. And he's not searching for anyone's approval. He's finally free. And in a world where young Black entertainers are constantly consumed by the fame machine and tossed aside the moment they stop being profitable, Doc Shaw's story shines as one of quiet resistance. He didn't crash and burn. He didn't spiral. He rose. The most powerful moment of his entire interview came right at the end, and it left everyone listening completely speechless. If you're watching this and you feel forgotten, unimportant, or silenced, just know your story doesn't end here. I'm still standing, and so can you. Doc Shaw's story isn't just a nostalgic look back at the glory days of House of Payne, it's not just about Tyler Perry, and it's not just about the entertainment industry. It's about survival, about self-worth, and about having the strength to walk away from a broken system to reclaim your true identity. We watched Doc grow up on our screens, laughed with him, rooted for him, and without realizing it, witnessed his unraveling behind the scenes while the cameras never stopped rolling. His transformation from beloved child actor to a young man who lost himself in the chaos, and then quietly found his way back, is nothing short of remarkable. Let's get one thing straight, his silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy, it was healing. And now that he's finally speaking, he's doing it with purpose, with clarity, and with undeniable presence. At 33, Doc Shaw is no longer just Malik. He's an entrepreneur, a mental health advocate, a speaker, a storyteller who's reclaimed his narrative and is now telling it on his terms. He walked away from one of the most powerful entertainment machines, and in doing so, built something far more valuable. His piece, and in a world that glorifies loud success but turns a blind eye to quiet suffering, his voice is finally cutting through the noise. So what lessons can we take from Doc's story? That mental health and entertainment still doesn't get the attention it desperately needs. That fame is fleeting, but identity is everything. That young black men in media deserve more than applause. They deserve protection, support, and humanity. And most of all, that choosing to walk away isn't failure. Sometimes it's the strongest, most courageous move a person can make. If this story resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself, share it. Let others hear why Doc Shaw's journey matters. Drop a comment. Were you a fan of House of Payne? Did you notice the shift in Malik's character? What are your thoughts on Tyler Perry's silence in all this? And most importantly, if you're someone who's ever felt like you had to suffer in silence, know this, you are not alone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss these deep dive stories that go beyond the headlines and speak to the truth behind the fame. Until next time, stay aware, stay inspired, and never be afraid to speak your truth.